I was one of 3 kids in my family, the youngest of 3 children, the only girl, daddy's little princess. In church, every time the doors were open, GAs on Wednesdays, choir tours, name it, and we were there. As I got older, I strayed a little bit, and at 17, my world changed. I ended up pregnant as a senior in high school, and those were probably some of the loneliest days of my life. I shamed my family, I shamed my siblings. I didn't want to show my face in church. At very early in my pregnancy, I was put on bed rest. Then you find out who your friends are, and I found out quickly that I didn't have any because I was alone almost my entire pregnancy. Tyler came early. He came at 27 weeks and was very sick. That's where the anger towards God came into the picture, because I thought, I've lived my life right. I made one mistake, and look at what I'm dealing with now. Why me was always my question. And for years, I asked, why me? After Tyler was born, the doctors came in and said, your baby's very sick. You have some big decisions to make. And being 17, you don't really grasp what they mean. And they said, you're young, you've got your whole life ahead of you, you're still in school. He'll never walk, he'll never talk, he'll never live a normal life. And you see your tiny baby laying there on a table, hooked up to all kinds of machines. And I said, my God's bigger. Tyler got out of the hospital, 2.5 months later, maybe 3 months later. And it was an uphill battle for years from there. They had told us it was a miracle, the turnaround. He had IVs all through his body, both hands, both feet, one in his head, the breathing tube, the feeding tube in his nose. His sternum wasn't grown together. He was an extremely sick baby. And the turnaround, the doctor said, was miraculous. They said there's no medical reason why your son is still here. And I said, I don't need a medical reason. Tyler got out of the hospital, and they told us he was going to be delayed in a lot of areas. That baby started talking in complete sentences at 10 months old, and he blew us all away. As for the physical part, we started noticing that he wasn't doing things. He was very stiff. He was couldn't sit up or anything. And finally, at 18 months, he was diagnosed with CP, and I was shattered. His dad was shattered. Cerebral palsy is lack of oxygen to the brain, either during birth or in utero. With Tyler's, it was at birth. He did not breathe for a very long time when he was born. The lack of oxygen and then the rush of oxygen to his brain damaged the cerebral part of his brain. So Tyler's CP is spastic diplegic, which is lower extremities, right side more than left. He did not start walking until he was 5 years old. I don't know if anybody really realizes that. So to some people, they might look at Tyler and think, poor thing. No, not poor thing. He was never supposed to do this. His walk is beautiful. And every step he takes, I look at him and I'm like, that is amazing. You're amazing. He's amazing.
You got to cut that out because they're not supposed to know.
I know, but you're amazing. He's awesome. He's so perfect. At the time, we still were not married. We both graduated from high school. He went off to college. I went to college and lived with my parents, and we got married when Tyler was 3. He never did accept Tyler's diagnosis. Not my sign. It became a dark thing for him. And from that point on, it was like we tried really hard, but it was a downward spiral. Andy and I stayed together for a very, very long time because there had never been a divorce in my family, ever. And I had already disappointed my family by being a pregnant teenager. And I had already disappointed my family by having a child out of wedlock. I didn't want to disappoint them with a divorce too. And so I stuck it out. I stuck it out through infidelities, through drugs, through verbal and mental abuse like nothing you've ever seen. I turned into somebody that I don't even know. I never did drugs with them. I never did anything like that. I had to raise kids. I was taking care of babies. But I would leave the boys. I would call the lady across the street and get her to come over, and I would go from drug house to drug house trying to find my husband. And drug dealers would look at him and say, "Do not come back here. Your wife's crazy as hell, and she's gonna get us busted. Don't come back here." And finally in 2009, I got home one day and I told my boys, "Get some clothes and get in the car." And they were like, "Why?" Because for years I had hidden everything from them. They didn't understand. We never stepped foot back in that house again after that day. Still to this day, we never went back. We left everything behind. No clothes, no shoes. I didn't even get a fork from that house. And that was the hardest thing because it wasn't just a husband. It was a best friend and all I ever knew. While that was a very sad period and it was difficult for all four of us, my boys and I got a fresh start. The divorce was final in August of 2010, and by October I had bought my very first home. It was a foreclosure. Destroyed on the inside, but looked fine from the outside, which was a symbol of me. I looked fine from the outside, but my insides were destroyed. And so God helped me to rebuild my life as I was rebuilding this home for my boys. Not long after that, Lucas was on a baseball team, and there was a man there that for some reason took a liking to Lucas and took him under his wing. And later I found out it was because he never had a relationship with his biological dad. So he had that connection with Lucas. And Lucas got injured. He had a head injury in the back cages. And in the hospital, Eric never left. He stayed right by our side as a coach that I hardly knew. He stayed right by his side the whole time. And here we are, married with a baby. One of the biggest things that Eric and I talked about when we first got together is that we wanted to get back into church. And I was like, what? You know, I had never had anybody go to church with me before. I mean, even on Christmas or Easter, I went by myself with the boys. And just him saying that he wanted to go to church and he wanted our kids to be in church together and to raise them, that was huge. And you talk about my mom and dad crying. They were so excited that God had put somebody in my life that would help me to turn that corner to where I wasn't angry at God anymore, that I was opening myself up to hearing what he was trying to say to me. I forgot all about the bad things because God was teaching me things I never knew I needed to know. God has completely restored joy and fullness and happiness and all those good words in my life. The first time that we sat down at a table and Eric wanted to join hands and say the blessing and pray over the food, we kind of all looked at each other like, really? And I cried. I still cry when I hear my husband sing beside me in church, because it's such a special feeling. And it's something that I did not think I was worthy of, because for so many years I was told, you won't leave, nobody will want you anyway. You're not good enough. Who would want you? You're used up. You have 3 kids. Nobody's gonna want that. And somebody did want that. And not only did he want that, but God wanted me. And God never gave up on me. And I didn't know that. Even when I gave up on myself, he didn't give up on me. And it just took a little longer because I'm stubborn. It took a little longer for me to open myself up because I was a very hurt person. I was very closed to the idea of going back to church. I was because I had been raised in the same church, and I just felt like, even it was in my mind, I didn't feel like the church ever treated me the same or looked at me the same after I got pregnant with Tyler. And when I walked through the doors here for the first time, the first time Eric and I came here, we were like, this is it. And we've been here since. I can't explain to you, it was such a happy feeling. I didn't dread whether somebody was gonna look at me and know my past. I knew that even if somebody did know my past, they were going to love me anyway. And it took me years to get to that point because I had been told so many times that I just wasn't worthy. Because God's still there and He's listening. He just might not give you the answer that you want because that's not what's in His plan. And that's what I was talking to Tyler about one day. I said, I begged God for so many years to fix things and to make things better and to do this and do that. And He never did. And look where I am now. And what would have happened, or where would I be, had God answered those prayers my way. And sometimes you have to let go of the way you want things to be and open yourself up to the way God wants things to be. Because I can promise you it's probably better than what you want. Because my idea of what I wanted and my idea of my life is so different from what God has had planned for me. I mean, I had to be completely broken and beyond rock bottom before I could look up and say, okay, God, I need your help.